Amazing twist, struggling mom's text to millionaire CEO for $5 reveals unexpected transformative. Sarah felt the weight of the world bearing down on her shoulders as she sat on the edge of her bed, surrounded by a mountain of overdue notices. How had it come to this? Each month, the cycle of bills accumulated, unfurling in chaotic disarray across her cluttered room. She glanced towards the tiny room with Mia's pink bedding, the little girl with the golden curls asleep, and her heart twisted, torn between fierce pride and crushing despair. Was she doing enough? Would they ever escape this grind? It was one of those nights, cloaked in loneliness, where doubts loomed larger than life. Shaking fingers hovered uncertainly over her phone as she contemplated reaching out to Jason, the wealthy CEO she had babysat during her teenage years, his laughter still echoing in her memory. "Can you lend me $5? It could really help," she typed, heart racing and breath quickening. The moment the words left her screen, shame washed over her like a cold tidal wave. Would he dismiss her, mock her desperation? A languishing hope lingered in her chest as she sent the message, prepared for a void that might follow. To her astonishment, Jason replied within seconds. A flood of warmth enveloped her. He remembered her. He recalled the laughter, the joy, the lessons taught by his late mother about kindness and giving. Suddenly, it felt as if the weight had lightened, if only for a moment. "Let us meet for coffee," he suggested, and a spark of hope ignited in Sarah's belly, tentative and fragile, over steaming cups at the local cafe. The rich scent of pastries hung in the air, but the sweetness of the moment was overshadowed by her turmoil. Sharing her dream of opening a bakery, she felt both the thrill of ambition and the gnawing fear of judgment for who would take her seriously. A single mom's fantasy, a mere fool's errand. Yet there was a glimmer in Jason's eyes. It seemed he saw something in her, potential knitted with their shared past. But as days turned to weeks, setbacks began to pile up. Money was tighter than ever, Mia was sick, and cruel whispers from neighbors cut deeper than any physical wound. The judgment was palpable whenever she entered a room. It felt as if every eye was scrutinizing her, stuck in an invisible trap and drowning in self-doubt. Could she rise above the harsh prejudice of small-town expectations? Each time she dared to share her vision, trepidation washed over her, mixing determination with a sideways glance of hesitation. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just as Sarah felt the breath of progress at her back, betrayal struck like a lightning bolt. Anna, her best friend, had shared her aspirations with others, twisting the vision into something tainted with ridicule. The weight of that betrayal was suffocating, leaving her gasping for air amidst a whirlwind of emotions. Could she dare to keep going? Or was this the universe's cruel reminder that her dreams were not meant to surface? Standing at a precipice where dreams and despair danced dangerously close to each other, Sarah felt pinned beneath the weight of judgments not just from the community but from herself. And in the silence that followed, an old family secret revealed itself like a whisper through time. One connected to Jason's childhood bakery, a thread that could weave together their lives in ways neither of them expected. Could this be a lifeline, or just one more false hope in a landscape riddled with obstacles? The tension knotted tighter in her chest, leaving her questioning, was it worth the fight, or would surrender be easier? As she stared at her phone, her fingers trembled, ready to reach out again, but to whom? The silence answered back. Sarah paced the dimly lit kitchen, each footfall echoing her inner conflict. The weight of Anna's betrayal churned in her gut, a relentless reminder that trust was a fragile illusion. She glanced at the small notebook propped on the counter. Pages were filled with sketches and recipes born from her budding ambitions, yet her spirit felt deflated. Every morsel of creativity seemed clouded by the thought that others were laughing at her, mocking her dreams. Why did pursuing what brought her joy inevitably feel like an act of defiance? She dropped the notebook onto the table and slumped into a chair, her fingers clutching the edges. Thoughts of Mia stirred somewhere in the back of her mind, her daughter's laughter a soothing balm. Yet every time she envisioned the bakery, where just the two of them could work side by side, that vision was stained by a growing sense of inadequacy. How could she dream big when her reality was wrapped in a cocoon of self-doubt? Then, light flickered in her mind. Jason's encouragement was still fresh, the way he had listened, truly listened as she unveiled her dreams, believing in her despite the darkness that loomed. There was a glimmer of possibility there, hidden amidst the wreckage of her feelings. Could she reach out again, not to plead for money, but to seek his guidance? Perhaps he could help her navigate through this labyrinth. It was a step forward, a chance to pivot from despair to action. With her heart racing, Sarah picked up her phone. She knew it was a risk, but each moment of courage could inch her closer to that bakery. "Hey Jason, I've been thinking about our conversation. Would you be willing to help me brainstorm some ideas? I could really use your insight." The message left her fingertips with mixed emotions, anxiety tangled with anticipation. Hours dragged as she waited, each ping from her phone quickening her heartbeat, only for it to be a message from someone else. But finally, his response arrived. "Absolutely. Let us meet up tomorrow afternoon." Relief washed over her, and for the first time in weeks, a tiny spark of hope flickered within her chest. The next day, as she prepared to meet Jason, the anticipation battled against her nerves. She chose her outfit carefully, a simple blouse paired with jeans that flattered her figure, hoping to project an image of self-assurance. But the moment she stepped into the cafe where they had met before, the familiar scent of coffee and baked goods filled her with a nostalgic warmth. Yet, as she spotted Jason at a corner table, she felt more like an imposter than ever. "Hey! You look great!" he greeted, his smile illuminating the space between them. As they exchanged pleasantries, Sarah marveled at his confidence. This wasn't just the boy she had known. He had morphed into a man who commanded presence in every room. They dove into discussions about her vision, her passion rippling off her as she spoke. For every skeptical question Jason posed, she found herself rising to the challenge, her ideas sharp and focused. It was invigorating. With each exchange, her confidence grew. She hadn't expected the feedback to feel so affirming, yet it resonated. However, as they wrapped up their brainstorming session, Jason introduced an unexpected twist. "I'd like to help you fund your bakery idea, not just as a friend but as a collaborator." The proposition hung in the air, heavy and charged. Sarah's heart raced. This opportunity felt like a window swinging open just as another door was slamming shut. Could she accept help from him, given her previous trepidation about leanings into trust? She had spent so long battling her pride and fear of judgment. Could sharing this journey truly allow her to flourish, or would it summon the judgment of those who had already doubted her? As the weight of her decision settled in, she was forced to confront her deepest fears. Could she hinge her future on someone else's belief in her, or was she destined to fail? The stakes had never felt so taut. The air crackled around them, and her soul bristled with unanswered questions. Would she take the leap? The moment beckoned her to reveal the truth behind the family secret, the key that could intertwine her destiny with Jason's. Armed with renewed determination, her mind raced with the possibilities, but she needed to know more before surrendering her dreams. As their eyes locked, she sensed that the impending choice could change everything. What would unfold if Sarah confessed the secret tied to their past? Would it weave their lives together or unravel them further? The urgency of the decision loomed larger than ever, and she recognized the time had come to take control of her narrative. The air was thick with anticipation as Sarah wrestled with the thoughts swirling in her mind. She could feel the weight of her family's secret pressing down on her, its implications branching out like a web, each thread connected to her ambitions, her fears, and now, her potential partnership with Jason. This was a watershed moment, an intersection of her turbulent past and the future she longed to build. As their eyes locked, she felt an undeniable pull, a sense that they both stood at a precipice. What secrets lay in her heart? The truth felt like a knife's edge, sharp and daunting. But was she ready to cut through the veil of uncertainty? "Sarah," Jason spoke softly, pulling her back from her spiraling thoughts. "You seem a bit distracted. Are you okay?" This demonstrated his genuine concern, and it grounded her, stirring a flicker of courage. If she wanted to harness Jason's belief in her, she had to confront her fears head-on. She took a deep breath, steadied her racing heart, and began to speak, her voice trembling but resolute. "I need to share something important with you, something about my family that might explain why I've been so hesitant." The moment felt both daunting and liberating. She was opening a door more intricate than she fathomed. Jason's gaze intensified, urging her to continue. She plunged into the depths of her past, the turbulent childhood that had coiled itself around her capacity to trust, the way her mother's dreams had been swallowed by unfulfilled promises and misplaced confidence. Each word seemed to unravel years of silence, revealing the roots of her self-doubt. I've watched the people I love struggle and fail, and it makes it hard for me to believe that my dreams can thrive. There's a part of me that fears, what if I'm just like them? Sarah looked into Jason's eyes, seeking understanding. What if I let you down? The vulnerability laid bare before Jason transformed the atmosphere with a palpable energy. She felt lighter, yet heavier in a different sense, ready to face what lay ahead but haunted by what she had unburdened. Jason leaned forward, his expression softening. But that's exactly why you need to take this step. It's your moment to decide your path, separate from your family's legacy. You're not them, Sarah. You've already shown resilience by going after this dream. His words wrapped around her, encouraging but also challenging. She could choose to define her own success, no longer a prisoner of her family's past failures. Though she ached to cling to that truth, doubt bubbled beneath the surface. How could she trust him, or even herself, enough to become a partner in something monumental? The conversation shifted as Jason suggested tackling a business plan, centering on how they could combine their talents to create a successful venture. Let us build something amazing together, something that resonates with people, including your story. You can turn that fear into fuel. With each idea he posed, Sarah began to visualize the bakery not just as a dream but as a sanctuary where she could shape her narrative brick by brick. The creative sketches in her notebook no longer felt like remnants of a distant hope, they were the beginning of her reality. As Jason outlined their next steps, each word resonated with a newfound clarity, but what remained was the looming question: would she be able to detach her own worth from her family's narrative? The harder challenge lay ahead. Could she transform her stumbled trust into something powerful, rather than allowing it to tether her to insecurity? As their meeting drew to a close, a palpable tension intertwined with her anticipation. She recognized the promise of this collaboration, yet she also understood the risks of dependence on someone else's belief. The time had come for action, for decisions that could win or lose her heart, her dreams, her rebirth. With Jason watching expectantly, Sarah felt a spark of determination ignite. All right, let us do it. Let us craft this vision together. But deep within, a sense of urgency loomed. She had a choice to make. Would she commit to this partnership wholeheartedly, or would her fears unearth safeguards that could sabotage her aspirations? The path split before her, the unknown beckoning with both allure and dread. Would she step towards possibility or retreat into the shadow of doubt? As the cafe buzzed around them, she understood the stakes had evolved beyond her comprehension. This wasn't just about a bakery, it was about birthing a new self into existence. With her heart in her throat, she prepared to step onto this path, a path that could either illuminate her journey or send her spiraling. But Sarah had decided, she would not turn back. What realizations would emerge as they began this partnership, and how would their linked fates reshape their lives? The true test was waiting just ahead. The morning light poured through Sarah's apartment window, casting a warm glow that seemed to breathe life into her new ambitions. She awoke with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Today marked the first step in her commitment to the bakery plan, a venture that intertwined her potential with Jason's vision. The rich aroma of coffee filled the air as she prepared herself for their brainstorming session, her heart racing with both hope and nerves. This could redefine everything. As she brewed the coffee, her mind flickered back to her conversation with Jason. "You are not your family," he had insisted, each word striking her like thunder. She had come to realize that separating her identity from their legacy was not just a challenge but a necessity. What if, instead of seeing their failures as chains binding her, she viewed them as cautionary tales, valuable lessons to guide her? This reframing could become the foundation for her self-discovery. Dressed in her favorite apron, Sarah felt a surge of purpose. It wasn't just fabric, it was a symbol of the bakery she envisioned. She fixed her hair, trying to find the confidence to face the day. Was she stepping into a destiny beyond her past, or merely walking the same repetitive path? When she arrived at their designated workspace, a modest, sunlit cafe, she spotted Jason deep in thought, scales of potential folded in his brow. It was refreshing, knowing they shared a dream, but an inexplicable tension persisted beneath the surface. Would he truly understand the intricacies of her fears as they plunged into their brainstorming? "Hey, Sarah. You made it." Jason looked up, the corners of his mouth lifting into a smile, a welcome sight that replaced her doubts with determination. "Absolutely, I wouldn't miss it for the world," she replied, settling down across from him with a notebook and a pen poised. Today she draw from the well of her past to create a vision for the future. They began by jotting down ideas, Jason emphasizing the importance of a solid business foundation while Sarah flooded the pages with inspiration. She inked down memories, the treats her mother used to create, the stories behind those recipes, and how they connected families around dining tables. In those moments, she felt each word transform into weighty significance. "Your stories are powerful, Sarah. They draw in people," Jason remarked, glancing at her notes. "What if we highlighted the emotional connection to food? That can set us apart." She paused, allowing his words to resonate. Could vulnerability be their brand? But what if her emotional associations bled too deeply into the business, mingling love with fear? "Let us take a step back," she suggested, her mind racing. "What if we created a series of pop-up events that allow locals to share their stories related to food? We can connect them to our products." A spark ignited in Jason's eyes. "That's brilliant. We can create a community around sharing and healing." But apprehension shadowed Sarah's newfound vision. Was she solidifying a partnership with someone who might become dismissive if things became difficult? She forced herself to breathe, pushing back the waves of uncertainty. They spent hours refining their ideas, Sarah's anxiety slowly transforming into excitement. Still, deep-seated fears lingered within her. How could she ensure that Jason would not disengage when the inevitable hurdles arose? As night draped the cafe in a soft embrace, they wrote down their first actionable steps. Sarah's heart thudded. It felt as if she had leaped into unknown territory, the edges of her comfort zone fracturing. Jason's enthusiasm was infectious, his eyes gleaming with possibility. "I can see this thriving, Sarah. But we need to strategize how to reach out for funding." The prospect of establishing meaningful ties with investors nudged her toward vulnerability, again an opportunity to showcase herself and her journey. Could she bear to stand that rawness in front of strangers? With a hesitant nod, she replied, "Let us do it, Jason. But I need to assure myself I won't get lost in this again." He chuckled softly, understanding etched on his face. "We'll create a fail-safe together. We'll define success on our own terms, not by anyone else's expectations." As they dissected the layers of planning and strategy, she found herself curious about Jason's journey. Did he ever face moments of self-doubt? As she probed deeper, a flicker of vulnerability emerged in him too, a realization that they were both navigating uncharted waters, balancing risk and aspiration. However, she wasn't quite ready to explore those depths further. A persistent fear sat heavy on her chest, and she needed to navigate her own path before diving into his. The work session wrapped up, but a question lingered: could they maintain the clarity to support each other as they pursued their dreams? Sarah's ambition was crystallizing, but underneath lay deeper insecurities. Was it truly safe to trust Jason with her ambitions and her heart? With that, a new question echoed through her mind: how would they confront the inevitable challenges before them, and would those challenges redefine not just her bakery but herself? The road ahead shimmered with possibility, yet it felt fraught with unseen obstacles. Would they both have the courage to face what is to come, and would their partnership withstand the ruptures of reality? The night whispered secrets yet to be unveiled, and Sarah braced herself for the tempest ahead. The days following their brainstorming session unfolded like a delicate pastry, layered with both excitement and trepidation. Sarah found herself oscillating between moments of exhilarating motivation and waves of self-doubt. Each day brought her closer to the realization that launching the bakery was not merely a professional endeavor, it was a personal reckoning, a confrontation with her own identity. The bright morning sun had become a ritual, signaling a new dedication to her goals. She immersed herself in research, gathering insights about the bakery industry, from successful business models to emerging culinary trends. Each fact she uncovered reinforced the determination she felt stirring inside. Yet, the peaks of enthusiasm would often be tempered by valleys of anxiety that whispered self-doubt into her ear. One Thursday evening, as she organized her notes for their business proposal, a troubling thought crossed her mind. What if the insecurities rooted in her family's past ultimately dictated her future? She closed her eyes, imagining each failure of her parents, a heavy chain interwoven with her aspirations. The fear tightened around her chest, and she fought to shake it off. The next day at the cafe, she arrived early, determined to confront those fears head-on. When Jason walked in, his infectious smile recharged her energy, but it also nudged her toward the deeper conversation they had skirted. She sensed a push-pull, the desire to connect further, weighed against the fear of vulnerability. "Hey, Jason," she began, hesitating as the words formed. "Can we talk about our motivations? I mean, really talk." His brow furrowed with curiosity. "Absolutely. What's on your mind?" She took a deep breath, choosing her words with care. "I think a part of me is afraid that if things get tough, you might pull the plug like so many before. I need to know we're in this together, even through challenges." Jason leaned back in his chair, considering her vulnerability. "Sarah, I get it. My own family didn't always see my dreams as legitimate either. I'm not going anywhere, I promise. But I need you to trust me, as much as I trust you." His candor brought a swell of relief, yet a shadow of doubt nestled deep within. Did her self-preservation instincts blind her to his loyalty? She realized then that understanding him might lead to understanding herself. It was a two-way street, fraught with fears yet rich with possibility. They transitioned into a brainstorming session, but this time, they dove deeper into their emotional connections to their ambitions. Sarah shared her tentative plans while peeling back layers of personal stories. She recalled her mother's warmth and love, juxtaposed with the crash of disappointment when their family bakery failed. "It's like I want to honor her legacy, yet break free from the weight of expectations," she confessed, her voice quavering slightly. Jason nodded, a sympathetic look in his eyes. "What if we created a space that embodies both? An homage not just to your mother, but to aspirations that extend beyond your past." The thought illuminated something within her. What if they built a bakery that celebrated resilience and stories, not just the successes, but the failures too? Each recipe could serve as a chapter in a larger narrative of growth, self-acceptance, and transformation. "I love that idea," she exclaimed, her confidence slowly solidifying. Yet, a nagging worry lingered: how to transform that idea into a reality without losing herself along the way. As they laid out their business plan, Sarah felt her mind buzzing with clarity. Questions about funding, marketing strategies, and community engagement began to take shape. This transition from ideas to actionable items steadied her racing heart. Yet, it wasn't just about practicalities, it was also about the emotional resilience they would need to face critics and challenges. That realization loomed large, demanding her full attention. For the first time, Sarah considered that perhaps confronting her fears of vulnerability could be a greater strength than she realized. The apprehension she felt was not a restriction but a potential source of empowerment. Suddenly, it was not just about the bakery, but about her profound journey towards self-discovery, and with that realization came the pressing question: how could she ensure her newfound strength didn't buckle under external pressures? More importantly, would she, in that vulnerable state, find the courage to fully embrace the challenges ahead when they emerged? As they wrapped up for the day, Sarah felt invigorated yet apprehensive, prepared to tackle more than just the superficialities of their ambitious plans. The road ahead may be fraught, but it just might lead her to a version of herself she had yet to discover. As they exchanged plans for their next meeting, a thought took root: what if true partnership involved taking risks, not just in business, but also in emotions? The questions gnawed at her. What would happen if she ventured into the depths of vulnerability with Jason? The next chapter awaited, thick with the promise of revelation and challenge, where true identities would be tested and transformed or forever lost. The morning air filled the cafe with the inviting scent of freshly brewed coffee, but for Sarah, it masked a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Her mind raced as she mentally prepared for another meeting with Jason. Each encounter felt like a precarious balance, a tightrope walk over her unresolved fears and budding ambitions. She sat at a corner table, her laptop open, staring at a blank document that mirrored her uncertainty. What words could encapsulate the emotional depths she had begun to traverse? She longed to express her evolving understanding of the bakery's purpose, to share her vision of transformation stemming from both pain and hope. Yet, a persistent nervousness fluttered within her, threatening the newfound resolve she had cultivated. When Jason arrived, his demeanor was buoyant and inviting, but Sarah found herself grappling with an urge to retreat into guardedness. He slid into the chair opposite her, capturing her attention with a confident smile. "Ready for round two?" he teased, the warmth in his eyes encouraging and disarming. "Yeah, I guess I am," she answered, but her voice betrayed her mixed emotions. "I think we need to discuss how to share our story effectively. It's vital for the bakery, but it feels personal." Jason leaned forward, engaging her directly. "Personal stories resonate, Sarah. They create connections. What's holding you back?" Her breath hitched, and suddenly, she felt exposed under his gaze. "It's complicated. I want our bakery to reflect resilience, but what if my past isn't compelling enough? What if it drives people away?" Jason's expression shifted to one of understanding. "Your past doesn't define your worth. It can fuel your journey. What if we took the approach of sharing pieces of our struggles alongside our successes? Each recipe could be a lesson, a connection to who we are." The prospect of intertwining their stories thrilled her, a new canvas waiting for colors yet to be mixed. "Yes, that's it. I want to create a narrative of perseverance, of honesty, not just the glamorous side of baking." As they continued to brainstorm, the conversation took a heartbeat faster as Sarah began to peel back layers of her story. They spoke not just about baking techniques but about the scars that shaped their paths. She voiced her desire to be authentic, to channel her family's failures into lessons that could inspire others. With each word, she felt herself becoming more unshackled from the weight of those memories. Jason engaged deeply, sharing his own vulnerabilities, the pressure to succeed after disappointing family expectations, the constant battle against imposter syndrome. "The more we're willing to be authentic, the stronger our connection with customers will be. It's not just about selling bread, it's about selling the whole journey." It struck her like a revelation. Maybe this was the very approach that could elevate their bakery above the rest. A bakery that didn't shy away from heartache but embraced it, where each sweet treat told a story not only of triumph but trials. Sarah's mind whirled with possibilities, envisioning a vibrant backstory for every item on their menu, yet, despite the initial thrill, a quiet voice nagged at her. Was she truly ready to lay her soul bare? How much of her story could she share without feeling vulnerable to judgment? Identifying this fear, she decided to leap toward the unknown could very well lead to meaningful connections. But how much to expose before it became burdensome? As they solidified ideas and crafted the logistics of their plan, Sarah realized the deeper challenge lay ahead. Presenting themselves authentically might invite both admiration and criticism, both of which could shift the foundations of her self-perception. Would she be ready for those reactions? The conversation turned toward logistics, how to incorporate their narrative into branding, marketing, and community engagement. They discussed everything from potential partnerships to social media strategies, each idea building on itself like layers of a cake. But as they parted that day, Sarah was left holding a greater question: could she withstand the scrutiny that would inevitably come with unveiling her true self? The stakes felt alarmingly high, and the imminent confrontation with her own vulnerabilities loomed ahead like an approaching storm. Determined to prepare herself, she found solace in the thought that growth often thrived in the crevices of discomfort. Would she embrace this risk in pursuit of authenticity? As she walked away, that analysis wrestled within her mind, drawing her into a crucial moment for both her personal and professional development. The next meeting with Jason would be pivotal. How she'd choose to engage with vulnerability could either bridge or fracture their partnership. Would she muster the courage to claim her narrative, or retreat behind her walls once again? The evening sun cast a warm glow over Sarah's workspace, but instead of comfort, it heightened her anxiety. After her meeting with Jason, she felt the weight of the upcoming session pressing down on her. This wasn't merely a professional endeavor, it was a plunge into the depths of her vulnerability. Understanding that she needed to prepare, Sarah took a deep breath and opened her laptop. The blank document stared back at her, its emptiness mocking her uncertainty. She glanced at her reflection in the screen, questioning if she was ready for the risks ahead. The revelation from her last meeting still echoed in her mind. To share her story was to invite judgment, admiration, and, ultimately, connection. With renewed determination, Sarah began typing. She visualized each word as a stepping stone leading further away from the fears that had trapped her for so long. As she poured her thoughts into the document, she explored the textures of her memories, her family's struggles, the bakery inherited as a symbol of unresolved desire, the burden of expectations. With every phrase, she peeled back another layer, questioning the narrative she had accepted about herself. This process unearthed deeper realizations. Would her story resonate with others? This thought provoked both fear and curiosity. She paused, dwelling on past failures and moments when she felt utterly alone. They were painful but necessary ingredients in her narrative. The looming fear of judgment transformed into a breeding ground for motivation. If others could share their tales of struggle, perhaps they would empathize with hers. Wouldn't authenticity challenge the very nature of those fears? Taking a leap meant embracing the optimism that her truth could spark inspiration. After drafting her thoughts, she shifted her focus to how to engage Jason in a way that mattered. It wasn't enough to simply communicate the narrative, she needed to convey the complexities of her feelings about it. Their connection hinged on understanding not just between the two of them, but extending to whoever might consume their baked goods and stories. That night, Sarah spent hours crafting an outline for their next meeting, intertwining her experiences with actionable steps for the bakery. Each recipe transformed into a lesson dictionary, a chance not just for sustenance but for shared experience. The feeling of purpose ignited a flame within her, a determination to redefine her past as a powerful narrative tool. As she delved deeper into her thoughts, Sarah found herself questioning the balance between clarity and vulnerability. What parts of her story were essential to share? Could she draw the line at her most painful experiences, or would withholding leave holes in the narrative as significant as the pain itself? Each glance at the glowing screen felt like a confrontation with those choices. Restlessly, she turned to her phone, staring blankly at it as if she could will it to illuminate the answers she sought. The prospect of sharing her story terrified her, but another truth dawned: the bakery could become a living testament to her journey. How would she feel stepping onto that precipice, standing in the bakery, being the voice of resilience while still grappling with her insecurities? Determined to use her fear as a fuel, Sarah decided to reach out to Jason sooner than scheduled, sharing her drafted ideas. Perhaps opening a line of communication would alleviate the pressure. Would he understand her fears? Would he be supportive or critical? Questions swirled, but now she felt armed with the resolve to explore honesty, both with him and herself. As she pressed send on the email, a new anxiety filled the space between excitement and fear. She was actively choosing to be vulnerable, placing her story in someone else's hands. The stakes felt higher than ever before. Would she receive positive feedback that recognized her growth? Or would his response unravel the very fabric of what she was striving to create? The next moment felt decisive. Jason's response could push her forward or force her back into her shell. A mixture of fear and hope churned within her as she prepared for the possibilities that awaited. The time had come to face the unknown. Would this partnership propel her toward authenticity, or would it expose her vulnerabilities in a way she wasn't prepared for? Sarah spent the next day in a haze of anticipation, her eyes constantly darting toward her phone. Each incoming message sent a fresh wave of anxiety swirling in her stomach. The warmth of the sun creeping through the bakery's windows contrasted sharply with her inner turmoil. She focused on the familiar sounds of the mixers and ovens, searching for solace in the routine while her mind raced with a barrage of scenarios. What if Jason didn't resonate with her narrative? What if her commitment to transparency came across as weakness instead of bravery? In an effort to center herself, Sarah slipped into the kitchen, finding comfort in the rhythm of kneading dough. The simple act grounded her, allowing room for reflection amidst the chaos. Thoughts about her draft bubbled and boiled like the water preparing for pasta. She considered the embodiment of her story within the bakery, the ingredients as metaphors for the complexities of her life, each layer of flavor a lesson learned, each recipe a chapter of perseverance. Yet, doubt crept in. She had poured her heart into that email, but now she wondered if she had laid herself bare unnecessarily. Was she prepared for the vulnerability that sharing her deepest fears would unveil? There were still whispers of inadequacy lurking beneath her resolve. The weight of her story was heavy, and she hadn't fully reconciled the parts she was ready to share. The phone vibrated on the counter, breaking her concentration. Heart racing, she wiped her hands on her apron and grabbed the device, staring at the screen. A message from Jason. She hesitated, fingers hovering, the reality of the moment crashing over her. The stakes seemed impossibly high, all her preparation now revolved around this very moment. Taking a deep breath, she opened the message. Jason appreciated her vulnerability and praised her ideas. He expressed genuine enthusiasm about their collaboration and provided several insightful suggestions to deepen her narrative. It was like a breath of fresh air, affirmation mixed with opportunity washed over her. His words ignited a spark of empowerment, each compliment a stepping stone further into her new path. However, nestled within his praise was a challenge. He proposed a brainstorming session to refine her ideas with a few trusted colleagues. Social dynamics had long intimidated her. Engaging with a group felt daunting, triggering memories of past performance anxiety in critical settings. The thought sent adrenaline coursing through her veins. What if they questioned her authenticity? I have to do this, she whispered to herself, the resolve in her voice plain. She had started this journey to redefine her narrative, to transform from a spectator to an active participant in her story. That meant confronting her fears head-on, even if it took her out of her comfort zone. As she prepared for the brainstorming session, Sarah crafted a plan. She would highlight not only her challenges but the growth that stemmed from them. Encouraged by Jason's feedback, she meticulously outlined her thoughts, rehearsing them in her mind as if they were lines in a performance. The commitment to share with a larger audience felt like standing at the edge of a canyon, ready to leap. As she polished her presentation, a realization settled in: vulnerability could be powerful, a bridge to connection rather than an anchor of shame. The day of the meeting arrived. With every step towards the conference room, her heart raced. She looked around at those seated strangers and familiar faces. As they settled into their seats, she caught Jason's encouraging nod across the table. It was a reminder that she wasn't alone. This encounter held potential for shared understanding. Gathering her courage, Sarah cleared her throat and began. The journey of her delivery felt exhilarating yet terrifying, a tightly wound coil of nerves transforming into her narrative. The more she spoke, the more she discovered the weight of her story, crafting moments of vulnerability into a form of strength. As she concluded her introduction, the room buzzed with acknowledgement. Conversations sparked about shared experiences, lessons inherited from struggle, and the ways that the bakery could embody those narratives. But just as a thread of hope wove itself through the air, a distinct voice rose: a colleague who insisted that Sarah's insights were not enough. The atmosphere shifted as the challenge hung heavy in the air. What followed would test her courage and resolve. Would she find the strength to respond with grace, or would insecurity pull her back toward silence? The moment Sarah heard her colleague's dismissive voice, a chill swept through her. New energy coiled within her, a mix of anger and urgency to defend what she had shared. For a fleeting second, negativity clouded her thoughts, threatening to drown her resolve in a whirlpool of self-doubt. But as she felt the eyes of her peers upon her, she realized this was an opportunity, a chance to confront her fears, not just for herself but for anyone who felt marginalized. Not enough? She echoed, her heart racing but her voice steady. What if I told you that those insights are born from real struggle? No, it's not about decorating a cake, it's about the layers of purpose behind each ingredient we use. She glanced around the table, her gaze landing on Jason, who smiled encouragingly. The warmth of his approval gave her a confidence she hadn't anticipated. Floating in a sea of uncertainty, she steadied herself. We can't just talk about success without acknowledging the messiness of the process. With each word, she discovered the power of ownership over her narrative. Embracing vulnerability unleashed a fiercer side of her, ready to defend her journey as both meaningful and purposeful. The colleague persisted, offering criticisms cloaked as suggestions, but Sarah pressed forward, dissecting her experience with a newfound clarity. She shared the early days of the bakery when every ill-fated batch taught her resilience. This was no longer just a presentation, it was a lifeline to connection, a plea for authenticity in a world that too often rewarded facades over the raw truth of living. As she spoke, Sarah caught glimpses of nodding heads around her. Ideas began to spark again, transforming the atmosphere from skepticism to genuine dialogue. colleagues offered their stories, moments from personal struggles that intersected with hers. It was cathartic, a platform where vulnerability became a shared responsibility, yet, just as her confidence rose with every exchange, Sarah felt her colleagues' continued questioning gnaw at her. Was she truly articulating her experiences well enough? The pressures resonated. She didn't just want to convince them, she yearned to inspire others. Her fear shifted gears from mere inadequacy to a conviction that she must ensure her voice echoed beyond this room. When several more individuals joined the chorus of support, inviting her to deepen aspects of her narrative, Sarah realized she was forging alliances, not just within this brainstorming group, but within herself. As the criticisms turned to constructive feedback, she found clarity amidst chaos. Her vulnerability was not weakness, it was a powerful call for authenticity, a beacon guiding others to recognize their stories. As the meeting wrapped up, she felt a surprising sense of elation. She had turned a potentially destructive moment into a springboard for dialogue, courage woven into every word exchanged. Jason congratulated her on navigating the tension with poise and authenticity. "You've lit a fire here, Sarah. You have a gift for this," he said, and for the first time, the weight of his words truly resonated. She was not merely the baker behind the counter, but a storyteller weaving her life's lessons into something larger. However, as she exited the conference room, that familiar inkling of doubt loomed at the periphery of her mind. Could she maintain this momentum? Would the response from others echo her new confidence, or would the past creep in with all its familiar shadows? Sarah stepped into the bustling bakery, energetic yet cautious. She had sparked something today, but that spark could easily flicker or ignite. The next challenge awaited: how to sustain this newfound energy and ensure her authentically woven story reached further than her immediate surroundings. The bakery hummed with activity, but underneath the surface, a deeper question brewed within her. How far was she willing to stretch her own narrative, and what truth lay waiting to be uncovered? Days passed, and with each dawn, Sarah found herself evolving. The vibrant community within her bakery blossomed, united not just by the love for pastries but by a shared understanding of resilience. The workshop Jason had organized proved to be transformative. Not only did it ignite conversations about obstacles faced, but it planted seeds of unity in a once critical environment. What remained was the need for her own clarity. Sarah recognized that she had been the architect of connection, allowing vulnerability to build bridges among her peers. Yet, conflicting emotions cascaded over her like an unraveled tapestry. Could she build upon this experience and fortify her own foundation against the doubts that loomed? It felt imperative to explore this before embracing the next steps within her journey. The moment she realized her worth transformed from a need for validation to cultivating self-acceptance was monumental. One evening, while drafting her next business proposal, Sarah captured thoughts that had simmered since her pivotal meeting. She recognized the stories behind her recipes weren't merely anecdotes but essential threads intricately woven into her tapestry. The failures had birthed the strength necessary to dare greatly. As she gazed out the window toward the neighborhood, scholars would say that breaking cycles was impossible. Yet here she stood, determined to prove otherwise. With each day of sharing her truth, the connection grew deeper, and the bakery transformed from a physical space into a sanctuary of vulnerability and strength. Her identity was not merely a reflection of her past but a canvas for the future she envisioned. This recognition solidified during a quiet conversation she had with Mia one weekend as they prepared a new recipe together, a chocolate chip cookie that had become a cherished symbol of their bond. "Mama, are you happy?" Mia's innocent inquiry pierced her heart with its simplicity. "Yes, sweetheart," Sarah replied, her voice steady but introspective. "I'm happy because I'm finally building something real. But I'm happy because I am me, every bit of me." The sincerity in Mia's playful response ignited something profound within Sarah. Being authentic wasn't just about nurturing her dream, it was ingraining acceptance into her journey. "I want to be just like you," Mia said, eyes sparkling. "Sweet girl, you're already amazing. Just always promise me you'll own who you are just like I'm learning to do." In that moment, clarity washed over her. She understood that the path ahead hinged on her recognition of self-worth, intertwined with her ability to embrace vulnerability for who she was as an individual. Taking a leap had engulfed layers of challenges but also revealed profound insights. No longer would she allow judgment from others to define her. Feeling resolve solidify in her chest, Sarah approached Jason the next day with renewed vigor. I want to share my full story at our next community engagement meeting. It's time for me to own every chapter, not just the sweet endings." Jason smiled widely. "I think that's a brilliant move, Sarah. Authenticity craves attention, and your journey deserves to be honored beyond four walls." As they strategized together, she felt an unwavering flow of passion guide the discussion. Drawing from genuine recollections, she cultivated a narrative that fed into the bakery's essence, one that resonated with struggles around the community. Planning illuminated a new vision for the bakery, a series of story days focused on individuals sharing their truths while indulging in freshly baked goods, a gathering that embraced authenticity. The day arrived. With every nervous beat, confidence blossomed. Sarah stood at the podium in front of friends, colleagues, and neighbors, gripping the microphone. "Today is about connection, about the stories that bind us. My dreams come from a legacy intertwined with struggle, pastries, love, and more." Her words flowed, a cascade of truth that resonated with every listener. As she unveiled the baking recipes representing her journey, a shift unfolded in the room. Laughter, tears, and applause filled the air as each participant engaged openly, sharing their narratives. The joy mirrored within Sarah's heart. Recognition surged through her, not merely from the successful event but from the acknowledgement of her journey. She had stepped into her truth, and those around her were inspired to do the same. With heads nodding and smiles around her, Sarah finally felt the complex weight of expectations dissipate, replaced by a solid foundation of self-assurance and collective connection. They were not merely a community of bakers but woven into a fabric of resilience that echoed every heartbeat. She had shattered the cycle. As she walked home that evening, Mia clutched her hand, joy radiating in buoyant enthusiasm. "You did it, Mama! I'm so proud of you." In that moment of undiluted bliss, Sarah understood there would always be challenges ahead, but she could now confront them head-on, fortified by her newfound strength and authenticity. She had built her bakery into more than just a business. It blossomed as a safe haven for sharing stories, inviting vulnerability, and honoring her journey. And as they crossed the threshold of their home together, Sarah felt an overwhelming sense of achievement surge within her, a true testament of personal growth that reached far beyond pastry and baking, echoing the beautiful complexities of being truly herself. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Seriously, it makes a difference. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending below. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.